Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to the fifth day of our 21 days Srimad Bhagavatam reading challenge. Our today's speaker is an initiated disciple of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, sannyasi, and an initiating spiritual master, and has been serving as a member of the ISKCON International Governing Body, GVC, since 1987. He is the author and co-author of several GVC position papers and serves as a member of a number of the GVC strategic and steering committees. On behalf of ISKCON Bhagavad Mahavidyalaya North America, I'd like to welcome our today renowned speaker, His Holiness Badrinarayan Swamiji Maharaj. Maharaj, you can start when you're ready. Hare Krishna.
Vanchakapatubhyascha kripasindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Krishna Swadamo Bhagate Dhamigana Divisaha Kalaunasa Dishamesha Parano Ko Nidodata Narayana Namaskricha Naram Chaivam Narotama Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat Umaganatamarandasya Gyanagana Salakaya Chakshushun Milatangena Tazare Shri Gurave Namaha. Well, that's interesting. You've changed the view, so it's all me.
Yes, Maharaj, I put the spotlight on you.
Yeah. Can we see the other devotees instead of me?
Yes, Maharaj, you can remove this.
Face all the time.
Okay.
And I like to see the devotees. It's purifying. Thank you. Well, we've been asked to speak about Prthu Maharaj. That is the fourth canto of the Bhagavatam. And if you count the beginning, the story of Benu Maharaj, it runs all the way through chapter 23. It's 10 chapters of the Bhagavatam. It's a lot of ground to cover. You can't possibly give a synopsis in one sitting. So I picked a few themes. There it is. Let's see here. I've actually printed out the wrong thing. You know, there's a saying, to err is human, right? You've heard that one? I heard Prabhupada's, we're all fallible senses, tendency to cheat, so many things. But I was in Prabhupada's room one time, and hold on. Devotee said, to err is human. And Prabhupada responded with the second half of that. The second half is, to err is human. And then Prabhupada said, but to forgive is divine. So this is Vaishnav mood. We make mistakes, but the Vaishnavas are merciful. So let me just wait for this to print out. Yeesh, got a lot of stuff here. I wanted to begin with a verse. This is towards the end of those 10 chapters. It's actually in chapter 22. It's text 40. And to save time, I'm just going to read the English. Hold on a sec here. Now, there we go. Translation. The ocean of nescience is very difficult to cross because it's infested with many dangerous sharks. Although those who are non-devotees undergo severe austerities and penance to cross that ocean, we recommend that, this is the four Kumaras speaking to Maharaj Prthu, by the way. We recommend that you simply take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are like boats for crossing that ocean. Although the ocean is difficult to cross, by taking shelter of his lotus feet, you will overcome all dangers. So this is the Bhagavatam. So many questions, so many answers. Prabhupada says the birds are chirping in the morning. Where is worm? Where is worm? A woman is chirping, looking at the Wall Street Journal. Where is money? Where is money? Where is money? So there's so many question and answers. But they never solve the problem. Bhagavatam, I was listening to a airport arrival in New York City. And the reporters are saying, well, what are you doing? What is your movement doing for the real problems of life? And where are your hospitals? Where's your food program? And Prabhupada said, where's the hospital that can cure all disease, can cure death? Can your hospital cure death? Can your hospital or can your food program resolve all the hankerings and cravings of life? No, but we can. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message and mission and lifestyle can. So the Bhagavatam is not idealism. It is not romanticism. It is not wishful thinking. It's not antiquated and from my grandmother or my grandmother's grandmother. But the Bhagavatam goes to the essence of life with the real answers. So here it's describing this is an ocean of sharks, and that's what we want to talk about, and how Bhagavatam is the cure. So the three themes I did pick out of the 10 chapters, just three themes. This world and the cosmos are an ordered system. And why does that matter? We're looking for steady happiness in an unsteady world. By very definition, this is an unstable world. So what to do about that? And again, what really matters, this narration in the Bhagavatam about Prthu Maharaj ends with his leaving his body, the end of his life, and how he leaves this world. So an ordered system, steady happiness, seeking steady happiness in an unsteady world. And what really matters, as exemplified by the end of Prthu Maharaj's life, how he ended his life. So starting off, let me look at my clock here, with an ordered system, there's it's patterned. It's describing in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, in the beginning of this section of Prthu Maharaj, how the world was in chaos due to bad management of Benu Maharaj. And how actually, if we look at, the thing is, wherever we look, we see order, pattern, symmetry. I was trained in biology, actually, oceanography. And you can change the temperature of the water off the coast of Peru by a degree, 1 degree. And in due course of time, that will have a ripple effect all the way up the coast from South America, Central America, all the way to Scripps Institute here, which is one of the best oceanography schools in the world. And all all the interdependent, they study, believe it or not, they study a piling on a pier, one of the poles that holds up a pier. And it's very interdependent, interrelated life systems. This produces a byproduct which feeds this, which you know, it's all interdependent units. You change the temperature a degree in Peru, and in due course of time, it'll change all of those life systems, all interdependent life, thousands of miles away. So, I mean, in so many ways, you look at a single cell of a Parmesia, one cell bacteria, is more complicated than New York City. Definitely. Wherever you see order, pattern, symmetry, design, you walk into the temple, the Sunday feast, and the feast isn't cooked. The deities haven't been dressed. Temple rooms all jumbled up. What's the natural response? What do you say? Anyone want to raise your hand? What would you say? You walk in and everything is in chaos. Huh? Got an answer there? Or you're all asleep.
Hari, Hari.
Okay. What do you say when you walk into a confused atmosphere like that?
Unorganized.
Yeah. But
You say, who's responsible for this?
Exactly. Who's in charge? What's going on here? I'm a GBC man. I'm blamed if there's bad weather. Who's in charge here? You know? So when we see order, pattern, symmetry, design, someone is in charge. Now, and if someone's in charge, if there's a designer, then there's a design. The first step in God realization in the Bhagavatam is to develop a sense of dependency, that I am subordinate, that I am not the Lord of all I survey. There was a Spanish explorer who, on behalf of the Queen of Spain, sailed across the Atlantic Ocean, came to the Central America, the country of Panama, and crossed the isthmus there, got to the other side, from the Atlantic side to the Pacific side. And he took the flag of Spain, stuck it in the water on the Pacific side, and said, all lands touched by this ocean, I now declare for the Queen of Spain. Now, do you think the people in China started speaking Chinese, Spanish? Do you think in the, on the east coast of Russia, they all said, se habla español? No, it was a ludicrous claim. And yet we're claiming that, you've got Ravana, you've got Hiranyakasipu, the archetype materialists, their whole mentality is that we control the world. It goes our way. They're trying to control material nature and actually being defeated at every step. So as Prthu Maharaj is explaining in the beginning, that you know what the word dovetail means? Prabhupada's purpose, they often talk about dovetailing. We have to dovetail our life. We have to dovetail our senses. We have to dovetail our activities. Wouldn't it be handy to know what dovetail means? You look it up. Go to Oxford's Unabridged. You can go to the Abridged. And a dovetail is a carpentry term. It means like, can you see in a window, let's suppose you've got a window, the rectangle curves or whatever, and you want to put a liner in there, you want to put a framing in there. You have to dovetail that framing with the window, which means in that, whatever you call it, in that rectangle, you've got to fit in there. You've got to fit in here. You comport, you dovetail the frame of what you're adding to the original frame. So we're not in charge. We're not the Lord of all we survey. Rather, we have to recognize that there is a designer of all things. There's a system, there's an order, and we can't change it. I was thinking of the verses in Bhagavad Gita, the chapter 3, text 10 and 11, and I'll read them. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generation of men and demigods, along with the sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this jaga, this sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. And the next verse, the demigods, being pleased by sacrifice, will also please you. And thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. So if we just comport to the system, if we accept that we're dependent on Krishna, if we don't try to buck the system, we recognize that everything's meant, what is it? Patram pushpam palam toyam, bhoktam, what is it? Sarva loka mahesham, bhoktaram jagatapasam. If we recognize this, we can live very happily in this world. But the problem is everyone's trying to do the opposite. We are trying to swim against the stream. It also means that Krishna, just like when Venu Maharaj was asuric, was creating havoc, killing, you know the story. So Krishna intervened. Krishna came as Prthu. So the idea that we live in a sterile universe, that everything is happening by chance only, there's no rhyme or reason. We are alone in a solitary universe, which is the mechanistic presentation of the world. Oh, we've got some loud neighbors. You should see my world here. Let's see if he shuts the door. All right, I'm going to shut my door. Hold on. So that's the first theme, or from Prthu Maharaj. We live in an ordered universe. That means there's a designer. And if you want to be happy, you got to get with the program. You've got to follow Krishna's instructions, go with the flow of things, stop trying to bang a square peg into a round hole. It just doesn't work. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was let's say this. Krishna intervenes in this world. He came, they got rid of Venu Maharaj, and Prthu Maharaj appeared and put things in order. Krishna comes, what is it? Pirtanaya sadhanam banasaya chaduskanam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. He comes to put things in order. I was in Prabhupada's room one time in Detroit with a number of devotees, evening darshan. And a man kept asking Prabhupada, oh, Swamiji, tell us about the incarnation of Krishna. Naturally, what he wanted is what they all want to talk about, although completely unqualified. He wanted to talk about Gopi Lila, Vrindavan, and Gopi Lila. They all want to talk about it, completely unqualified. Prabhupada demurred, didn't want to say. And the man kept pushing. Prabhupada slammed his hand on. Khan is an incarnation of Krishna, and he's come again to save the world. So Krishna comes to establish order, to establish dharma. And he comes, if we're talking about dovetailing our energy, if we're talking about comporting to the design of Krishna, then all we have to do is follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And to the best of our ability, doesn't matter what we do. People tell me all the time, I get it all the time. Oh, Swamiji, I am praying to God. I am praying to God. All right, great. Everybody prays to God. What I tell them is great. Everybody prays to God, practically everybody. You put them in a car. Prabhupada tells the joke. A man is sliding off the roof. He's working on his roof, putting up his cable screen so he can watch Bollywood movies or whatever he's doing. He's up there on the roof, right? And he slips, and it's an angular roof, sloped roof. He's sliding off. He's 3 stories up. They've studied these things. You really can't kill yourself unless you're 4 stories up. You can break every bone in your body, but you got to be 4 stories. The guy's 3 stories, and he's worried about it because, he's going to break every bone in his body. He's sliding off the roof, and he's saying, oh, God, please save me. Please save me. It's Prabhupada's joke. Please save me. Please save me. You save me, and I will be your surrendered servant. And just as he's going over the edge of the roof, his pants catch on a nail. Forgets all about God and said, man, was I lucky. Now that the nail was there, that his pants caught on it, that the nail had, held the weight, so many things. That's all Krishna's mercy. That he forgets all about and thinks, boy, was I lucky. So everybody prays to God in an emergency. The question that when they say this to you, oh, Swami, and like it's a big deal. Oh, Swamiji, I am praying to God. You tell them, great, fine, everybody does that. The real question is, what are you doing for God? Praying God is not an ATM or Amazon and you better get it on Prime. God is, that's not how it works. That doesn't please Krishna. He's getting bombarded by gimme, 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 I want prayers all the time. But what are you doing? What are we doing in the service of Krishna? That's the real question to ask. So the simple point is that we can do that by Krishna, as Prthu Maharaj came to save the world. Krishna comes again and again. And recently, Prabhupada said practically yesterday, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and he's manifest in his ISKCON movement. Just put our shoulders to the wheel of pushing Lord Chaitanya's preaching mission forward, and we'll become happy. We'll be dovetailed. We'll be going with the flow. They say that in California, go with the flow. A devotee envisioning himself as a poet, he left the temple and he left a message. And the poetry was, I know not where I goeth, but I'll be where the wind bloweth. It's romantic. Put it on the Hallmark card. But let me ask you a question. Where does the wind blow things? Does it blow things to the heavenly planets? Is that your experience? You throw something, which you shouldn't do because we love Mother Earth, and we're her caretakers. But you throw something out the window, where does it blow to? Where does it go? Help me out here, somebody. Don't overthink it. Yeah, it goes down. It goes right into the gutter. If you let things where they'll goeth, where they'll bloweth, they blow right into the gutter. And we'll talk about that more. But so if we want to dovetail our life and our energy, then we should serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. And Prabhupada's made it so easy. Okay. So there's order, there's pattern, and there's a design. And because there's a design, there's a designer. And that designer is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he comes regularly to straighten this place out. Where is God? Why doesn't he just come and straighten it out? There's a joke, an American joke. And a man it is a flood coming. It floods in Houston. So it floods. And the water's coming up to his doorstep. And the policeman comes along and says, hey, it's flooding, get out. Come with me, get in the car. And the man says, no, I'm depending on God. All right. Water gets a little bit higher. you know, and he can't get out anymore. The boat comes by and says, get in the water, get in the boat, we'll save you. No, I'm depending on God. God will save me. Finally, he's on the roof, completely flooded. What to do? A helicopter comes, lowers a rope, a ladder, says, grab on, we'll save you. No, God will will save me. I'm dependent on God. And the water keeps coming up. He's washed away and drowned. Now, when he gets to the pearly gates, you know, the gates of heaven, he complains. He says, where's the complaint box? I was praying to God and God didn't save me. God says, what are you talking about? I sent you the police car. I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. What do you want? So to recognize that Krishna's in charge and Krishna's the controller, and let me take advantage, dovetail myself to Krishna. That's intelligence. Now, another thing, I guess we're not going to get through all this, but that's all right, some other time. We are looking for steady happiness. That's a fact. Even a plant, what is it? Anamoya, pranamoya, jnanamoya, vijnanamoya, anandamoya. There's different levels according to your level of consciousness. There's different measures of happiness. You know, just to fill my belly, that's a type of happiness. A plant will turn towards the sun. You know, it has a certain, so everyone, unless you're some kind of masochist, but outside of that, everyone's looking for happiness. And we don't want happiness that comes and goes. We want steady happiness. Prabhupada says, Krishna says in the Gita, that the nature of the self, in 2nd chapter of Gita, the nature of the self or the soul is stanu. Stanu means steady. It means stable, constant. And yet Krishna also says, what does Krishna say about this material nature? Okay, he says it is temporary and full of misery. Okay. And maybe that's too open a question. It starts with an M, miserable. I guess you could think of so many things. The material nature is constantly mutable. Mutable means it's always shifting. Even in physics, there's a law of entropy, that things are always, down to the smallest atom or whatever, whether waves or atoms, whatever world you're in, they're rubbing against each other. And by that friction, they're wearing out. Everything. Anyway, don't get me started on Darwin. Anything here, can you build a doghouse or a mailbox and come back 200 years later, if you could do such a thing, come back 200 years later, and it's evolved into a condo or a 4-bedroom house? Does that ever happen? Anybody here had that experience? That something from a simple state evolved? Just give it enough time. That's their famous answer. Just, billions and billions of years. It's just hogwash. There's no practical example of something from a simple state evolving to a complicated state. Rather, what do we see? If you have a nice house and no one touches it, no maintenance for 200 years, has it added another floor? Has it put in marble floors? What's it become in those 200 years of neglect? What's it become? Help me out.
Debris,
Yeah, it's trashed. It's decomposed. It's degressed. It's devolved, not evolved. That's the nature of things in this world. That's the nature of it. So if by nature we are constant, continual, stable, and that's the state of happiness we're looking for, and yet all, the senses in contact with the sense objects, all of that, Krishna says there's sources of misery because it's constantly mutable. You can't hold on to it. Therefore, woven into life, baked in, as they say, is a constant state of anxiety, of angst. Either it's just baked in. It's like pearls on the pearls on the thread. Within every experience in this world is the fear that I'm going to lose it. There's envy. I don't have it. I want it. When you've got it, you've got you completely in anxiety. How am I going to maintain it? It may be subdued. It may be in the background, but it's definitely in the back of your mind. Why do people slow down and look at an ambulance, a car crash? In the back of their mind, they're thinking, thank heaven it's not me. There, but by the grace of God go I. So we're always in anxiety. We're hankering for what we and envious for what we don't have. There's a subliminal angst underneath it. When's the wrecking ball of time going to come through? American poets call it the silent tide of time. When is that tide going to wash in and wash everything away? It's coming. It's only a matter of time. And then when you've lost it, you're lamenting. So as long as our happiness is the interface with material nature in subtle or gross forms, we are, as they say in California, cruising for a bruising. That's why it's temporary and full of miseries. Krishna certifies. Therefore, what to do? Then is the only question to be stoic, to just stand like a tree and tolerate the Greek philosophers, the Stoics, that you just grin and bear it, tolerate, put on a good show? What kind of happiness is that? Doesn't solve anything. Do we become like the existentialists? The only question is how to die. Camus, I think it was Camus, was the one who finally drove his car into a bridge. That what is the use if life is nothing but suffering, and when we die, we just become fertilizer? There's no soul, there's no perennial self. Then why keep suffering? The only intelligent thing to do is pull the plug in the suffering, commit suicide. Just try to find a painless way to do it and get it over with. That's where this philosophy leads. Either gross hedonism, stoicism, or existentialism, just pull the plug, get it over with. But therefore, the only way, it's like oil and water. The only solution, they don't mix. The only solution, the only path for steady happiness is to change our consciousness. We have no control over conditions. Prabhupada says, man proposes, God disposes. We have our karma, we have our destiny, and that wrecking ball comes through the window. We can have a cough. Go to the doctor, because it's lasting a couple of weeks. This just happened to one of our members of our congregation. Had a little cough. Went to the doctor. Turns out he's got some virulent type of bone cancer that's worked its way into his lungs. Told him, he said, how long do I have, doc? Do I have a few years? The doctor said, really? And then he said, do I have a few months? Do I have a few weeks? The doctor said, maybe 6 weeks. He died in 3. Just started with a cough. He didn't even feel any pain. So, I'm not to spook you, because there is an alternative, but we need to get to it. So that's another theme here, that the real thing is consciousness, to try to, the happiness, well, I'm looking at the time. There was 100 horse sacrifices had been performed by Indra. He's famous for 100 horse sacrifices. And as king of the whole planet, Prthu Maharaj was doing the same thing. When he got to 99, the Indra, anxiety, fear, envy, I'm the Lord of everything, I'm supreme, stole the horse. Prthu Maharaj became angry, went looking for it, sent his son. And the Lord Vishnu appeared to him and said, no, leave it alone. Be satisfied with 99. This sense of satisfaction, of contentment. When Vamandev, again, Krishna came to put the world right. When Vamandev asked Bali Maharaj for 3 steps, little Brahman, brahmachari, 3 steps only. Bali Maharaj says, you're young and obviously inexperienced. You're only asking for 3 steps. I can give you so many things. I can give you a whole planet. You know, what did Vamandev say about his 3 steps and contentment? Anyone know? You can unmute. Fire away. Anybody know? Anybody home out there? Nobody knows. You're speaking, but Rishi, I see that you're speaking, but it looks like you're muted. You're speaking to your wife? Speaking to your dog?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Yes,
all that's done. Don't have to say that. Go ahead.
Vamandev says, I'm happy with 3 pieces of land.
Why? What is his argument?
Because his satisfaction is...
If I'm not happy with 3 steps, why am we going to be satisfied with 30 steps? Krishna says in the Gita, lust burns like fire and is never satisfied. It's such a great example. Does you throw more fuel on the fire? Does it burp, say thank you very much, and goes out because it's satisfied? What happens when you throw fuel on a fire? Huh?
It flames more.
It just gets bigger. The more fuel you throw on it, the bigger it gets. Lust burns like fire and is never satisfied. So Lord Vishnu advises Prthu Maharaj, don't get into this race of competing with Indra. Let him be victorious. Move on. Like Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, when they were challenged by Rup Narayan, and they, they sign a sheet here that I've defeated. They said, give me that. They signed, this is not my business. So the real key to happiness is with our consciousness, and that comes from the taste of service. To serve materially, Prabhupada says, if you're a man or if you're a woman, the husband, the children, they're never satisfied. The wife, you're on your deathbed and they wonder who's in the will. So they're never satisfied. The body is never satisfied. You work to the moment you drop dead, it's still making demands. But Krishna, what does he say? Patram pushpam palam toyam, a leaf, a flower, a fruit. He's easy. You just offer it with love. He's satisfied. When we were in Chicago, this is 1972, Chicago has harsh winds. It has freezing cold weather. And then the wind blows across Lake Michigan. They call it the Hawk. It comes howling down out of Canada, crosses that freezing river, ice-covered lake. And it just cuts right through your bone. So we had no money in the winter. We couldn't afford to buy any flowers. What do we offer for Arti? The temple president wrote Prabhupada and said, can we, a pine tree, conifer, a pine tree? They have a nice scent. They have kind of an antiseptic scent. So Prabhupada said we could take a little sprig from a pine tree when we don't have any flowers, and you can offer that. There was a devotee who offered a 4th of July sparkler. Prabhupada said, no, it should smell nice. Instead of a flower, he offered a 4th of July, one of those sparklers, But it has a nice fragrance. You can offer that to Krishna. So Krishna is easily pleased. Krishna is pleased with, service within the mind, manaseva. I'll tell you a quick story. So my point is that instead of trying to swim against the stream to satisfy material, find satisfaction via material nature, which is constantly mutable and falling apart, the only real constant level is, instead of oil and water, it's got to be oil and oil. We've got to engage in spiritual activities, the realm of consciousness, which means service to Krishna. And service to material life, you have to work hard. It's not easy. And you got to maintain it, so many different things. But serving Krishna is easy. Everybody can do it. So here's an example. The Nectar of Devotion had just come out. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And in there's a description of manaseva, serving within one's mind. And there's a story about the Brahmin who in meditation made sweet rice. And Prabhupada said sweet rice is much more tasty if it's cool, if it's cold. So he was cooling the sweet rice. He put it in a nice kund or something, no refrigerator, but he wanted to cool it down. And he was checking if it was cold enough, and he burned his finger. And he came out of his meditation, saw that his finger was actually burnt. So you know the story. And Lord Vishnu laughed in Vaikuntha. People asked why, and they sent a flower airplane to pick him up, and he went back to Godhead. So that had just come out. Now, Vishnu Jan Maharaj was traveling with a bus party. And let's see, where were they? They were somewhere like the buckle of the Bible Belt. They were in Kentucky or Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, or somewhere. And they were chanting on the street. This is 19, I don't know what, 74, 75, something like that. I mean, it was wild in those days. If you weren't white, Anglo-Saxon, male, Christian, you didn't count. Even the Catholics, they were a little suspicious of. So, I mean, to be out there with a shaved head and they were thinking, you must be from Mars, and where's the mothership? It really was like that. So all the devotees, they were chanting, maybe 25 devotees, and they threw them in jail. Now, they're brahmacharis. I can even mention sannyasis. But Prabhupada said, brahmachari, young man, means hungry. They're always hungry. Young men, always hungry. You can wake them up at midnight, like Jayananda did, give them some halava, and they'll thank you very much. So the devotees had been driving. They were an overnight drive to Dallas, and they were going to get there for the Sunday feast. Beautiful Kalachanji, Radha Kalachanji, nice prashad. You're living on Khichdi. Someday remind me to tell you the story about Hanuman and Khichdi. Everybody's got a breaking point. Khichdi's nice. Prabhupada said it's a baker's banquet. But every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, dessert, Khichdi on a stick, popsicle, nah, there's a breaking point. So they wanted to go and have a nice feast. Devotees, we like prasadam. I'm thinking of so many prasadam stories. So anyway, they're thrown in jail. They're going to miss the Dallas feast. They're young men. They're hungry, tired of Khichdi. They're in one big cell, one holding cell. So what to do? Vishnu Jan Maharaj says, because the Nectar of Devotion just come out, let's cook of the feast within our mind. So they started chopping all the vegetables. They started rolling the puris, all pantomime, all within their mind. Now remember, the local police, Billy Bob and Jerry Jim, are, they already think the devotees are from Mars. And now they see them chopping and cutting and frying and rolling. Well, that's weird enough. Then they offer the prasadam to their deities in their mind. And they're all playing on air madunga and air Charles and chanting and dancing. Now Billy Bob and Jerry Jim are really nervous, what's going on? And the kicker was they all sat down and he passed out imaginary plates. They served everybody prasadam. Vishnu Jan Maharaj said it's the only feast he's been to when there was plenty of everything and every prep turned out perfect. So they're all relishing prasadam, all, within their minds. They but finally sent the local police over the edge. One of the devotees offered them an imaginary plate. Said, would you like some? And then said, oh, here's a spoon, an imaginary. Cop said, that's it. You're out of here. They opened up the cell. They said, you go left, right, any direction, but get out of town. And the devotees got back in the bus, drove back to Houston, made it just in time for the Sunday feast. So, I mean, that's a simple example, but Krishna is easily pleased. Even you don't have any facility, you can do it within your mind. Whereas in the material world, trying to be happy through the medium of matter is just, it is a no-win proposal from the get-go. So let's see, because I want to stop at 6 o'clock. I'll say a few more things, because I do have a conclusion as well. What really matters? I'm 71 years old, almost 72. And I can tell you, my life has flown by. People say, oh, where did the year go? I'm thinking, geez, I lost the last 2 decades. Where did they go? The older you get, and you can study this, you can ask kids and you can ask old folks at a retirement home. The older you get, the faster time goes. I don't know exactly why. I'm thinking if you're 6 years old, a year is a sixth of your life. If you're 70 years old, a year is only 1/70th of your life. So it seems that may be one of the dynamics of the thing. But when we read in the Bhagavatam about the life of Prthu Maharaj, and there's so many examples. There's the example of the Pandavas. I mean, they were all householders. No offense, anybody. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but we will all come. We will face that moment. We're all going to be alone in this world. We're all going to be aged, that we can't squeeze any more. I mean, I don't want to. 93 years old. Rupert Murdoch, the guy he's the press baron, 93 years old. He just got married for the 5th time. He's 93. Throw in the towel, Rupert. It's over. 93, he's trying to crank up the sense gratification machine again. But we're all going to be there alone. Everybody. What do they say? Nothing's certain but death and taxes. And you can dodge taxes sometimes, but death, Yamaduta's come, but you can't say, no, today doesn't work for you. Can we book another day? They give you some dates. You say, nope, that won't work. That won't work. Can you tell the Yamadutas, how about never? Does never work for you? No, you got to go. Unexpectedly, you can't buy 1 second. And it will happen sooner than we think. So we have at the end of the Bhagavatam, all the opulence, all the power, because Prthu is a Shaktivesh avatar. He's setting the example. He's an empowered jiva on behalf of the Supreme Lord. So he comes to the end of his life and he prepared for it. He gave everything up. He prepared for it. I think it's St. Francis who used to say, die before death. We should prepare for it instead of be hanging on to the last minute. So we can see the example that Prthu Maharaj went back to Godhead. He lived peacefully, happily, did good for others. There's an example. It's a thought example. Who can I pick on? I'll pick on Shastra Krit. Shastra Krit Prabhu, because I know you. We're old friends. Can you unmute Earth to Shastra? Maybe he's not there. Okay, let's pick somebody else. We have a volunteer. What about Akshar Das? Dasanu Das? Can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Maharaj.
All right. Here's a thought exercise. Are you ready?
Not sure.
Suppose I have a bucket of water. I have it's 5-gallon plastic buckets, duct tape and plastic buckets, the basis of every ISKCON temple. So you've got a 5-gallon plastic bucket, half full of water. Okay. Now, what happens to the water line if you put your arm in it up to your elbow? What happens to the water line?
It will raise slightly.
It goes up. Okay. What happens when you pull your arm out?
Again, it lowers down.
Where does it lower to? The exact same place.
Might
put
not.
Your arm in? Yeah, might not. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Unless you're living in a different universe with different laws of physics and gravity. Okay, a little water will stick to your arm. So there's that. Okay, fine. I mean, work with me here, Prabhu. You put your hand in, the water line goes up. Take your hand out, water line goes back. It's as if your hand was never there. Should we live in this world in the same way? Okay, we took up some space. We had some kids. We paid off a mortgage. Jive. Maybe we had a beach house or a retirement home. And we died with all of our teeth. Ki jive. Is that a success story? That's all we're meant to do? What difference what good did we leave behind? If we look back at the wake of our life, what difference did we make? Do you know that when someone dies, the average time that people remember what they're faced, first off, within 6 weeks to 2 months, they've forgotten the sound of the voice, most people. Within 6 months to a year, they've forgotten what you look like without a picture. So what difference did we make? We just took up some space, satisfied our senses, struggled to satisfy our senses, dropped dead, and did the whole thing all over again. Like, who is it? Sisyphus rolling the rock up the hill, and it rolls back at the night every and he's got to roll it up again the next day, and he's perennially struggling. Is that the meaning of life? So we're going to take questions in just a second. But the point is, we should want to make a difference. We should want to do good in the world. And by that acts of service, we will actually become happy. I was and satisfied. I was recently in Mayapur. Well, once again, do you know there's atmospheric rivers? I mean, the more they find out about the interdependent systems of the world, the more that it just blows their mind. Looking at a one cell, more complicated than New York City. It's not just a saline bag sloshing around with a few chemicals. They're going to put in some amino acids, shoot a lightning bolt through it, and create life. Dream on. They can't even create protein, which is the building block of amino acids, which is the building block of a single cell. They can't do that. Well, we're going to figure out the brain, and it's just consciousness is just brain function. It's just synapses firing chemicals and electricity. Oh, yeah? Then try to explain how smelling an orange, looking at an orange, and that converting to what an orange tastes like, and that going up the optic nerve and the whatever it is in the nose, whatever you want to call that, the sense of smell, it all gets turned into electrical impulses, pluses and minuses, zeros and ones, basically, pluses and minuses. And how does that simple numeric pluses and minuses, how does that translate within the brain to emotions? They have absolutely no idea. I mean, they don't even have a hint. So, now where was I? So the point is, when they study the Earth, the climates, it's equally as mind-blowing. Why there's El Nino, there's El Nina, there's this. But now they've discovered there's these huge, they call it the Pineapple Express is one of them. It's like veins in the body. There's atmospheric weather rivers that affect the tides. They affect so many gravity. They have profound effects on the operating of the planet Earth. So there's also atmospheric. Prabhupada said that we know that there's 4 yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, like that. And each one has its characteristics. Each has its avatar, a Yuga Dharma. So in the age of Kali, Yuga Avatar, hopefully everybody knows, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Yuga Dharma is the Harinam, holy name. But Prabhupada said within Kali Yuga, everything's degrading, entropy, like I said, everything's going down. But there's a cross current, there's an atmospheric river that starts at the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Prabhupada, I've heard him say it several times. It's in the Brihad Bhagavatam, Brihad Narada Purana. Although the main trend is going down in Kali Yuga. Just like sometimes in a river, there'll be a cross current, there'll be an eddy, and the water, small portion of water, is going the other direction. Beginning with the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as described in Shastra and by Srila Prabhupada and our previous acharyas, there's a cross current. There's a golden age beginning from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. It goes up for 5,000 years and plateaus for another 5. So a total arc of 10,000 years. There's an increasing cross current of a golden age. And all we have to do, it is, as I said, this ISKCON movement is an incarnation of Krishna come again. It is an atmospheric, spiritual river, cosmic river that is carrying the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And just like with Prthu Maharaj, you know, when he was milking the earth and he had to have the right cow, he had the right calf, he had to have the right receptacle. ISKCON is the receptacle for catching that transcendental rain that puts out the fire, the forest fire samsara of material life. That is happening in this ISKCON movement. ISKCON movement is an incarnation of Krishna. It is delivering the Yuga Dharma. It is the vehicle for catching, it is the atmospheric river for catching that wave of a golden age in the age of Kali. And you, well, come on. But how is it possible that Srila Prabhupada alone, with nothing, he had 40 rupees, which he actually, not fair to say nothing. He had $20 that he got from the captain of the ship, the Jaladut, for selling him a set of Bhagavatams. And he had a sack of coins to get, you know, to the automat to get to Butler, Pennsylvania. That's all he had. The 40 rupees you couldn't even convert in America. So against all odds, we see what Prabhupada accomplished. It's just inconceivable. Prabhupada was sitting on the balcony. You know, you've been to the Calcutta temple? Because they've expanded, but there used to be a balcony, and then there was the temple room, and on the other side was Prabhupada's quarters. And they've maintained nicely Prabhupada's quarters. So Prabhupada was sitting in his quarters. We were all sitting on the outside, you know, some in his room, some on the balcony. And there was a man named Tarun Kanti Ghosh. He's passed away. His grandfather was initiated by Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And he was a Vaishnava, but, you know, Kanista Vaishnava. And he'd been to see a yogi. And the yogi had made a fresh German apple right there in his hand. And Tarun Kanti Ghosh was so impressed. He was saying there was a yogi, and there was no apple, then there was an apple, and he was wearing a gamsha. There was nothing up his sleeve. The apple. And Prabhupada, you know, explained that, okay, there's different mystic powers, but, you know, what is the real goal of life? And so many things. Prabhupada was explaining nicely. He just didn't get to the man's head. He couldn't get it. This was, you know, Krishna's Yogeshwara. Prabhupada gives so many nice answers. You're wondering about one apple, and a yogi made one. What about Yogeshwara, who makes unlimited apple trees with so many apples, and every apple has a seed in it, multiple seeds to create what about that? You're not impressed by that? And, you know, he just went on and on. So Prabhupada finally said to him, you know, this yogi from nothing had made one apple. Prabhupada said, I came to America with nothing. I sat down, Tompkins Square Park, with a pair of cartels and began to chant. That's it. You know, Prabhupada was greeted by one of New York's finest, one of the police. The first greeting from American officialdom was a policeman who told Prabhupada, hey, buddy, get off the grass. So he's sitting on the hot sidewalk, New York City, in the summer, with a pair of cartels and nothing else. And he begins to chant. And Prabhupada said, from that chanting and faith in the order of my spiritual master, so many devotees came. And from the devotees, so many festivals came. So many deities came. So many books came. So many temples came. And then Prabhupada said, and in every temple, there are so many apples. Apple halva, apple chutney, you know. So this guy makes one apple. Oh, he must be Bhagavan. But, what about Srila Prabhupada? He's a master of mystery. And the guy got it. At that point, he actually got it. So my point is that we have the chance, the opportunity to engage, to catch the atmospheric river, to catch the current, to catch the wave of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, to serve in the ISKCON movement, which is again an incarnation of Krishna, come to save the world. And we will become happy. The world will become happy, anyone who follows. And we will look back at our life, a life well spent. So those are some lessons we can gain from Prthu Maharaj. I wanted to end with you. Prabhupada said, my disease is I cannot think small. So this movement is meant for big things. And we need your help. We need, whatever it is, lean into spreading Krishna consciousness. Work with the other devotees. It's a mystical movement. And I wanted to end with, in Mayapur, anyway, so many committees meet, they make reports. It's just one amazing thing after another. But I wanted to share with you one thing. I'm on a committee which is called the BBT-GBC Relations Committee. And it works out issues between the BBT and the GBC and, whether we're going to use for the construction grant, where that money's going to go, and where this and that. What about the, so many things, so many issues. So Ramaswamy narrated a story, an actual event. He was working with Karandar in Los Angeles. This is probably 1970, must have been 72, because it was they were printing books. There's a whole lot of planning that you got to get the money, then you got to buy the paper, then you got to get the printer, and then you got to get the printer time to print the books, then ship them and deliver them. I mean, they are ordering the books for the Christmas marathon. They have to order by July, August, in order to have them here for the Christmas marathon. So in order to get it, and I love we all should, and I'm sure you do, the devotees at the BBT, they are constantly meditating, because Prabhupada gave a high standard. It's the message of Bhagavan, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It should be delivered in the best fashion. So they are racking their brains day and night, how to find the best quality paper at the lowest price, how to find the best printer at the lowest price, all so that they can give the book distributors first-class books at the lowest price that people can afford, so they can flood the world with Prabhupada's literature. It's a fantastic meditation. So they needed to print enough books for the Christmas marathon. They had to print in July. They had to give the money, $250,000, to print the hardbound Gitas and softbound Gitas necessary for the Christmas marathon. And they didn't have the money. Devotees have to sell the books, and they use the money to fix the roof, and they don't send it to the BBT. It's a whole trip. So they didn't have the money. And what to do? And the printer kept saying, we need it. If you want to hit that print date, we want to ship these books late November by Thanksgiving marathon. We got to have the money now. And they didn't have it. So Ramaswamy, feeling a little discouraged, what to do, praying to Krishna, he goes over to the Sunday feast. And at the Sunday feast, he happens to sit next to a well-dressed, man, about late 30s, early 40s, nicely dressed. And they're talking, preaching Krishna consciousness. And the man says, I like what you're doing. I'm impressed. I want to give you something. Can you come with me? So Ramaswamy follows the guy outside. Guy walks over to his brand new Mercedes, opens up the back seat or the trunk, I don't know, and hands him one of those James Bond briefcases, those metal briefcases with a combo on it. You can shoot a bullet off it. You can't open it. Hands him one of those. Ramaswamy, austere brahmachari. Thank you very much. Thinking, what am I going to do with this thing? But okay, I can use it as a door holder. Hope it'll hold open the doors. The doors stop. Says, thank you. He's polite. Thank you very much. The guy gives him the combination or gives him the key. Ramaswar finishes up his prasadam, goes back to his room and thinks, well, opens it up. And inside, just like the movies, are stacked $100 bills. The briefcase is full of stacked $100 bills. He asked Karanda, who was the head of the BBT, hey, what do I do with this? Karanda says, we're going to the bank first thing in the morning. Before the bank opened, Ramaswar, Karandar, they're standing out in front of the bank. They go in, they put the thing in one of those counter machines. Exactly $250,000. What do I do? Ramaswar asked Karandar. Karandar says, ship it to the printer, Kingsport printer in Tennessee. They immediately sent the money off to the printer. That's not the end of the story. Yeah. Later on that afternoon, it's the next day, yeah. Later on that afternoon, two brand new Mercedes pull up. The man in the front, the man in the front gets out, front car, and he's same thing, immaculately dressed. He's obviously in charge. He's got a big bodyguard with him. Out of the other car, two big hulking guys get out. I mean, they're definitely with the mafia. There's no question about it, or some kind of drug dealers. They said, who's in charge? Ramaswar raised his little hand, skinny brahmachari. He says, you know, one of our associates came here yesterday and left something with you. We want it back. And it wasn't a request. You know, it was, hey, give us our money back. And little Ramaswar says, well, what can I do? I don't have it anymore. What? And he goes into his office. He shows them that they'd wired the money that morning for Kingsport Press. And he explains, you know, these are spiritual literatures meant to save the world. And, you know, it goes into the whole thing. You know, Einstein was reading these, you know, this is Gandhi was reading that this is the book, you know, and he tells them, you know, you might have some heavy karma. I mean, they're drug dealers. You might have some heavy karma. This will relieve you of that karma. You know, he tries everything. And the head of the thing just listens. He's just, and when Ramaswar finishes his heartfelt appeal, the man says, all right, keep it. Gets in his car and drives off. Are we in a spiritual movement or not? Is Krishna's hand guiding and pushing? And from then, 1972, to now, we just opened the Nishringa wing. I went to Mayapur when the only thing in Mayapur, 1973, was a half-finished lotus building. That was it. There was nothing. I've got pictures of when all that was there was a grass hut. And when Prabhupada came out there with the Ashtatata, the brass, the 8 metal Radha Krishna deities, the Utsav deities, there was nowhere to put them. The lotus building wasn't even there. All they put a device, because the roof leaked on half the building, they put a curtain up, put the deities on the side that didn't leak, and Prabhupada and Tamal Krishna Maharaj stayed on the side of the building, the little hut that leaked. And from that, you now have the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium, which is a mind blower now. And when it's finished with all the displays in it, it is going to rock the world. That's a whole other class. I can give a class with a whole lot of what all the displays are going to be. Just a mind blow. So let's catch the wave, Prabhus. Don't live a wasteful life struggling against the stream, but catch the merciful wave of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, vehicle the incarnation ISKCON, and do good for ourselves and good for others. All right, we can end there. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for the wonderful class.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
If you have time, we can take any questions or...
We can take some questions, maybe the 10 minutes questions if anybody has any. Okay, can you call on them? Because I can't see everybody.
Oh, yeah, I can. Yes, Prabhu, you can unmute yourself.
But let me ask you this. Try to ask a question about what we've spoken about. I mean, I'll answer whatever you want, but let's try to take those questions first. and not a stump the Swami question, who was the husband of the second king of the Manu of the, the stump, no. Ask a question that actually matters. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So today actually marks 15 years since my father passed away. And
Okay.
like you said, that people just forget the voice in 6 weeks. So I just, the question basically goes like this: if I'm chanting and dedicating some rounds to him, how do I ensure or get conviction that his spiritual life might have started in some other, because he
Do
wasn't
you
a
believe in the Shastra?
definitely Maharaj.
All right. Well, what does the Shastra say happened to the relatives of devotees?
Yeah, the
What the
21,
Shastra say?
the 7 next and the 7
Sometimes it
previous and
says
14
7.
next.
Sometimes it says 7. Sometimes it's 21. Sometimes it says 100. One fragrant tree can perfume the whole forest. Chanakya Pandit gives this example. So you don't have to worry. I mean, it's nice. It's good that you're a son and you're thinking about your father. Chanakya Pandit says, Prabhupada quotes him, that you cannot repay the teacher who teaches you even one letter. So what to speak of nice parents, it's not, do you have kids? You're muted.
No, Maharaj.
All right. If you ever have kids, you will find out it is not easy. My father, when my kids were teenagers, my father told me one time, and he was a good man, he said, I'm starting to believe some of your philosophy. I said, what do you mean? He said, this business about justice in the universe. I thought, oh, he's talking about karma. I said, why? He said, because you are suffering with your son as much as I suffered with you. So, raising kids is not easy. So it's good that you're grateful to your father and but you don't have to worry. I mean, if you accept Shastra. Okay, another question? I can't. Somebody must have a question. Did I scare you all off? All right, then. Oh, going once, going twice. Thank you very much. Oh,
I think there's one question. Yes.
I don't have a question. I don't have a question, but
I don't want a bunch of praise. I mean, I appreciate.
No, I'm not praising you.
Then what are you doing?
I'm
You're going to complain?
just telling how
we don't. And here's another thing. Just a tip for the future. After someone gives class, ask a question. Don't give a second Bhagavatam. People love to give a second Bhagavatam class. They say, no. Serve the audience, serve yourself, serve the speaker, ask a question. Don't give a second Bhagavatam class. All right, I guess we're done.
Let's say thanks to Maharaj. Be chanting Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. All glories. Oh, here's somebody. Prthu, what's up?
One quick question. Maharaj. So the story that you told about the devotees who were going to Texas on the bus.
Yeah,
and
Vishnu
then the
Jan
police
Maharaj
caught
on
them.
his Radha Damodar bus.
Right. So you said that the police caught them, and then they made the feast in their mind, and they offered it to Krishna, and then the police let them go. So I couldn't understand
the
that the
police thought
reason.
these people are crazy. They're crazy. We don't want them around.
I see. I get it. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Oh no, they I mean, we are a mystery to them. I'll give you an example. There's a new guy moved in next to me. I have a little studio apartment, serves as my office, my bhajan kutir, my place of rest. So he just moved in on the weekends, Friday, Saturday night. I'm going over to the temple at 2:30, 3 o'clock to chant my japa before Mangalarti. And he's just coming home from the bars. Oh, he's just coming home. I'm coming home in the evenings. We're doing some home program or some event at the temple. I'm coming home at 10 o'clock. He's just going out. So like
Right.
Krishna says in the Gita, day for the self-realized is night for the conditioned, night for the, like that. So he told me the other day, as we were passing each other, he was going out to do something sinful and I was coming home from the temple. And he said, you are just the opposite of me. I said, and in more ways than you can count. The devotees are a mystery to the conditioned souls, just like they're a mystery to us. We wonder, how do they live like that? Gnawing away on raw flesh, drinking, burning alcohol. I saw a t-shirt the other day and printed on it, it said, instant idiot, just add alcohol. I said, there it is. It's the truth. They're instant idiots. So we're a mystery to them. They're a mystery to us.
Right.
But
Right. Thank you.
we know who's right. Okay. Now we can end. Prahlad Nanda, you still have your hand up?
Now I have a question.
Very good. Thank you, Prabhu.
All devotees of following Chaitanya Prabhu and Mahaprabhu's philosophy, they're not pure. All right. I have heard of a sannyasi touching genitals of a small girl, and the girl has complained after 30 years of these things. So flowing with the flow, as you are saying, is, if it is blind, it is not going to give you the result.
Yeah, of course. People fall down. Wait. I'm not excusing all of that at all.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was involved in discovering it and dealing with it as a member of the GBC.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone has free will. Why do people fall? Start at the beginning. Why do people fall from the spiritual world? They develop the seed of envy. They think, why is Krishna at the center? Why not me? And then Krishna says, okay, have a spin at it. You try being the enjoyer. You try being the centerer. And he doesn't let us, he starts us off as the Lord Brahma with our own universe. It's not that like Krishna starts us off in a hog body. He gives us all facility to try to enjoy separate from him. So my point is, we fell from the spiritual world. You don't expect that people are going to fall down from spiritual life? Of course they are. It is not an easy thing. It takes determination. How is it possible that Ajamil was born in a pure Brahmin family? What happened there? So you're shocked? Prabhupada said spiritual movement in the material world, difficult proposal. Prabhupada said, don't be surprised who leaves, be surprised who stays. So you can focus on, 90 people made it, 10 fell down. Let's focus on the 10 who fell down. We have to deal with it. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect others. You take it as an object lesson, how we have to be cautious and so many different things. But it doesn't mean the process doesn't work. Do you blame the doctor if the patient doesn't take the medicine? Is it the doctor's fault?
No, I am a doctor, and
so all I'm saying is then you got to.
If the patient doesn't take medication as I prescribed, then it's not my fault.
There you go. And you have patients that, in spite of your best effort, sometimes die. What's your field?
Well, I feel that I did my portion.
No, what's your field? What's your field? What's your specialty?
I treated gynec, obstetrics and gynec.
I don't know. I can't follow what that is.
Gynecology, treating women disease.
Okay. I got it.
Okay.
Well, you lose people sometimes in spite of the best effort. So what can you do? Doesn't mean the process is right. One of the first questions I asked Prabhupada, anyway, it's a long story, but I asked him, what's the difference between matter and spirit? How do you advance in spiritual life? What's the difference between matter and spirit? Prabhupada was cutting an apple. Prabhupada said, this knife, is it good or bad? Is it material or spiritual? I didn't know. I was a young boy. I panicked. I didn't know what to say. Prabhupada said, in the hand of a surgeon, it can save your life. In the hand of a robber, it can slit your throat and take your life. So the knife in and of itself is neutral. It depends on the consciousness in which it's used. It could be material or spiritual. So similarly, the process, when there's people that chant Hare Krishna and they're thinking of all kinds of things. There's the 10 offenses. If you pour water on a fire while you're trying to light it, it's never going to work. So people fall down. That should not be a shock. It's expected. Doesn't mean it's approved, doesn't mean it's sanctioned, doesn't mean it's belittled. People fall down. Why are you so hung up about that? The question is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to learn from that lesson to protect yourself? That's the object lesson to walk away with. Not, oh, well, somebody fell down, so it doesn't work. So many people are going back to Godhead. One of our pujaris here at the San Diego temple, he was taking a nap, and I was walking through the Brahmacharya ashram. He was offering artik in his sleep. One hand was going like this, and the other hand was ringing the bell. He was sleeping. I've seen devotees distribute books in their sleep. I mean, there are people that are extremely Krishna conscious. It works. Okay, think about that one before you come back with immediate counter question.
Thank you.
Are we done now?
Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. Let's say thanks to Maharaj with the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you for your association. All glories to ISKCON Dilam. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, we will see you tomorrow again with the next class. Hare Krishna devotees. Thank you very much for joining today's class.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.